Hey, I have a question for you. Have you ever wondered what the New Jerusalem in the book of Revelation actually means? Well, if you've ever wondered, stick around because after the intro, we're going to be talking about what this term actually means. Well, today's video is going to be pretty short. And the reason why I want to make this short is because what's going to end up happening is we're going to open up a whole new series here on, kind of getting more in depth into trying to understand stuff in the Bible contextually. Now, for those of you who are new here, let me just tell you that we are spending all of the summer of 2020, so that's basically from June to August, 90 days or whatever, talking about the eschatology or end times or whatever. Eschatology means the study of last things or the study of the end of the world or whatever. So book of Revelation, rapture, second coming of Christ, all the cool stuff that everybody likes to talk about. We're spending the whole summer talking about this stuff. And our goal is to really get a better understanding of the Bible, the whole New Testament, and the book of Revelation, and many other things. So today we're going to be talking about the New Jerusalem and what this term actually means. And we're going to kind of stick to some light material in this particular video, but as time goes on, we will get, more depth into this particular term and many other things, because you have to understand something when you're reading the Bible. Basically, context is everything, but you also have to ask the question: what is context? Like, what does context even mean? People always talk about context, but what is context, right? Well, what scholars have said is basically context is a mixture of a lot of different things. Primarily, it's history and theology and literary issues and cultural things and language and some other stuff, okay? Those are the primary things that are involved. And so what you actually have to do when you want to establish the context is you have to look at the historical cultural background. You have to look at some literary things that are happening. You have to look at the theology of a person. You have to look at the type of language that they're using. And when it comes to the book of Revelation, for some strange reason, I don't know why, but for some strange reason, almost everybody ignores all that stuff, and then they tell you vehemently that they understand the book of Revelation, and they have no idea what they're talking about. Okay? And the truth of the matter is that if you really study this book in terms of context, so in other words, you look for the historical cultural background, you look for the theology, you look at the literary stuff that's happening, you look at the language, what you'll find out very quickly is disappointment. That's right. You heard me correctly. Disappointment. Disappointment. You're very let down. Because in the modern world, in church and Christianity and all that stuff, we have kind of like upped this book and we've made it seem like super special. It's like the end all be all. And, you're like a super Christian if you can read and understand this book. Like we've kind of created that image for whatever reason. And so people have that expectation. Well, when you understand hermeneutics and you understand how to interpret the Bible, what you'll realize very quickly is by reading this book, you're going to be like, dude, like, very disappointed. I'm very let down, okay? Because I thought this book was like so much better, and it's not. You know what I mean? And I know that sounds a little bit harsh, but trust me, when you go through that process of actually understanding hermeneutics and you read the book of Revelation and you understand stuff that's happening, it really begins to make sense. I'll give you one example of what I mean. I mentioned language. The New Testament was written in Greek, and the book of Revelation was written in Greek. Okay? And scholars have pointed out for a very long time that the Greek in the book of Revelation is horrible. It's horrible Greek. It's not good Greek at all. It's kind of like, well, wait a second. We have all this amazing stuff happening in terms of vision, but the actual Greek is very poor. Why is that, right? So it kind of makes you wonder who actually wrote this. What does it tell us about the person who wrote it? Well, if they couldn't write Greek very well, what exactly does that mean? Does that mean they weren't educated? Does that mean they purposely did it like that? I mean, why did they have such poor Greek? Well, I don't know. But it is something to factor into the whole process of revelation. But before we get too far into this video, I just want to take about 20 seconds to tell you about my YouTube channel and why I think you should subscribe. First of all, this is a Bible study channel. What we do here is study the Bible because we take the Bible seriously and we seriously study the Bible. So if you are looking for a Bible study that's online, it's absolutely free. You just found it and you can go ahead and click subscribe and the bell notification. Oh, and also I forgot to tell you, my name's Adam Jordan Clark. I publish a brand new video every single day. And again, just to remind you, we're spending the whole summer 2020 from June to August talking about the book of Revelation and end times and rapture and Jesus' second coming, all that kind of really cool stuff. So that's what we're doing this summer. If you want to be a part of the conversation and join in and comment and have fun with us, you can click subscribe and the bell notification, and you'll get a brand new video just like this every single day. So we are talking about this book of Revelation. And what's very important about this book that you really have to understand is you do have a lot of history that's happening here. You do have a lot of cultural stuff that's happening here. You do have a lot of literary stuff happening here. I'll show you one example of what I mean. When we come here to the 3rd chapter of the book of Revelation, we get the letter here to the church of Philadelphia, and it's verse 7 to verse 13. And here's basically what it says. It says, "This is the Holy One, the true one, the one who has the key of David." Now, this phrase might not sound all that important to you, but it does sound very important to me. Why does it sound important? Because this author is making a reference to King David. He's talking about the key of David, right? So what does that tell us about the author himself? Well, the first thing that it tells us is that this guy knows something about David. Okay, and then the next question becomes, how much does he know about David? Then after that, we have to ask, how much of this knowledge of David is he actually using? And then it gets even harder, because then we have to ask, what type of interpretation models did this author use to interpret David's writings? Okay, so, and I know this stuff doesn't sound all that, appealing to you. A lot of people, when they think about interpretation, they just think, well, I need a good English Bible, and I open it up and I read it, and whatever it says is what it says. It's like, okay, well, if you continue doing that, you're always going to get the interpretation wrong. I promise you that. You will, because you're going to miss details like this in the text, right? So he tells us in the 3rd chapter, there's something important about David, about understanding David. So now we have to start thinking about the theology of David and the author's interpretation of David and many other things. So just to put that into the back of your mind, I'm trying to explain to you in the very simplest form that interpreting the Bible is very hard. It takes a very long time to interpret the Bible correctly, because it's not about what you get out of it. Interpretation is more along the lines about understanding what that author meant and understanding his perspective. So you kind of have to reconstruct an author that we've never met before. Very difficult process. Takes a long time. So you had to be careful when you're interpreting the Bible. You have to be very, very careful and cautious. So in this same letter to the church, we have this phrase down here where it says, "And the one who conquers, I will make him the pillar of my God, and he will never go outside again. And I will write on him the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, the New Jerusalem, that comes down from heaven." So this term, New Jerusalem, only occurs 2 times in the book of Revelation, here in chapter 3, and then again at the end of the book in 21. So basically, all you need to know about this term is 2 simple things. This is a real Jerusalem. This author most definitely means this Jerusalem to be literal. So if you are reading this passage and you come across the term, the New Jerusalem, and you say, hey, I think this is a real place, I think it's a physical Jerusalem, you are correct. You are correct. He actually means a physical Jerusalem. Now, the question then becomes, what exactly is that Jerusalem? Is he actually talking about the real geographic place, location here on earth, or is he talking about something else? And here's what I mean by that. When we go to chapter 21, where the second reference is, we will see in the very first verse, it says, I looked and I saw a new heaven and a new earth. Let me highlight that for you, because that's really important. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea did not exist any longer. And I saw the holy city, the New Jerusalem, coming down from heaven. So, what is he trying to say here? Well, he's telling us that the New Jerusalem is a new place. It is a physical location, but it's not here on earth. How do we know that? Because he tells us. He says, look, dude, it's not in heaven. It's not on earth, because heaven passes away and earth passes away, and there's no water. There's no sea. It all passes away. So what is he talking about here? He's talking about the final destination. So what does that tell you? Well, it tells you that, a lot of people who are anticipating this New Jerusalem to actually physically show up in the, Palestine today, in Israel, I'm sorry, you're misunderstanding it. So what does this tell you? What does this tell you about interpretation? Because that's really the goal here, is to help you understand. The way you understand is by interpreting. So we have a term here. It is, in fact, physical. So you got that part correct. It is a physical location. You got that correct. But there is layers of meaning. It just doesn't mean one thing. It could mean many different things all at one time. And that's what we're seeing with this term right here. We are seeing the New Jerusalem being a physical location, and we are also seeing it not being a physical location here on earth. So what does this term mean? It basically means this is the final destination where believers are going to go when they die. It is a New Jerusalem. And as you understand Judaism and Jesus and John the Baptist and Paul the Apostle and the law of God, the law of Moses, the more you begin to understand those things and Judaism in the first century, the more you'll begin to understand why it's important to have a New Jerusalem. Because theologically speaking, Christian theology does not make any sense. Salvation through Jesus does not make any sense until you have a final destination. And we know that final destination is God, the New Jerusalem. Listen, if you like this video, let me know in the comments below. I have some more playlists up here if you want to go and check them out. Don't forget to click the big red A, because when you do, you subscribe to the channel and you get a brand new video just like this every single day. My name's Adam Jordan Clark. Thanks for watching. And as always, I will see you in the next video.